Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir, and it is so good to see everybody here joining in for this interesting session today. Or rather, give you something more which is updated, something which gives you the realistic picture of what it is to get Canadian PR after you have turned 35 or as you are progressing with your age. So that's what I'm going to do today. There are 5 or 6 different programs, ways, processes that you could look at if you're looking to immigrate to Canada and your age is fast progressing. Most of you are already familiar with express entry programs, and I'm hoping you are. If not, then watch some of our other videos or come hop onto our Facebook group and we will be able to help you there. But in express entry program, as you know, which started in 2015, this was primarily a way of giving a standard benchmark or a standard platform for different kinds of for different people from different parts of the world with different factors, so that they could basically measure certain factors based on which they will bring people into Canada. Before predating 2015, before express entry, there was a manual application process where they would so all you had to do was score eligibility of 67 points, and if you were able to do that, then you simply had to submit your application along with your documentation, and 2, 3, 4 years later, you hopefully would have got your permanent residence. There were some occupation codes at that point of time also earlier which were preferred, and there was always this occupation code which would be more preferred than the others. So that was primarily the system. I mean, there were no specific criteria. You would not lose out because of age as you would grow older, as long as you could score 67 points. Well, that changed with express entry, whereby you still had to score 67 points if you were a federal skilled worker. Basically, if you have no Canadian work experience, you still had to score 67 points, but now you also needed qualifying points, which we refer to as comprehensive ranking system score, which basically means that once you're eligible, you get into the pool of people who are also eligible, and then based on your factors, age, education, work experience, language scores, adaptability factors, you will then get qualifying ranking score. This ranking score is where it becomes tricky. This ranking score is where it sort of creates a bit of a quandary, if you want to call it, whereby you start losing points very quickly the minute you turn 30 years of age, from 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, so on and so forth, to the fact that 44 years and after, you simply get no points for age. And age definitely, those points that the age is adding is a lot of points. Let me sort of show you what I'm referring to. Okay, that's what I'm referring to. Comprehensive ranking system score. That's our first factor again. And what I'm trying to tell you, okay, I'm sorry, my camera's here. Camera got changed. So comprehensive ranking system score or express entry will be the first pathway that we will discuss. This is how you can still come to Canada even if you have reached crossed the age of 35. Now, mind you, what I'm going to talk about today doesn't only apply to people who are of the age of 35 and more. It also applies to people who are below 35, 31, 32. But let's say your CRS score or your comprehensive ranking system score is not high enough to get you that covetable or the coveted ITA in express entry. So what do you do? So again, we will all go through the same pathways, different pathways. You can review it with me, and then see if any of these make sense. The first one, as I said, is again express entry, which obviously is foremost for most people. All these links I will mention in the description box, so you will always be able to refer back to them whenever you want to. The first one, what I have on screen, is the GridPoint. This is the comprehensive ranking system express entry GridPoint. You get this is a summary of maximum points that you can get in express entry for age. If you are with a spouse, or if you're married and your spouse or your common law partner is included in your application, the maximum points you can get for age is 100. Now you can imagine if you're 44 years and older, you won't get any points for age, and this 100 points, if you lose, then you can imagine how devastating that can be in your total score. But if you're obviously a single, or if your spouse is not accompanying you, then your score is 110 maximum for age. We are not going to talk about the other factors at this point of time because our reference point for today's discussion is age and how that can make or break your application. Now, as we scroll down, and what I'm trying to show you is the age factor points. Well, 17 years of age or less, also you get no points, surprisingly. Not surprisingly, but because you will probably not have other factor scores as well. Anyways, 20 to 29 years of age is what they consider as the golden age in express entry. And as you can see, you get the maximum points there, 100 points if you are with a spouse accompanying or common law partner accompanying, and 110 points if your spouse is not accompanying you. As you will note, for every single factor, the points for spouse accompanying is always less than spouse unaccompanying. And the reason for that is because in express entry, you get additional points for spouse. So spouse, if the spouse has completed education, you get additional points. If the spouse has completed language scores or language test, they get additional points. So in order to compensate and create a balance between spouse who can get you additional points and people who do not have a spouse or common law partner, therefore you get additional points with spouse unaccompanying or single applicant. It's not sort of to give you benefit. It is sort of just to create a parity and a balance between the two. Now, as you can see, as the age, the minute you turn 30, you lose 5 points here. If your spouse is accompanying, you lose 5 points here. At the age of 31, you lose 5 more points. As a single, you lose actually 6 points. A lot of people don't know that. When you turn from 30 to 31, you lose 6 points as a single versus 5 points as spouse accompanying, and so on and so forth. But by the time you come to 44 years of age, you only have 5 points for your age factor. And the minute you turn 45 or more, you get 0 points. Now that is where it starts making a bit, I mean, not only at this point, but it is already hurting you earlier than that. But what can you do in express entry which will help you compensate that? Now, there are several other factors that we could look at, but what we are going to look at as of right now for the discussion today, as you turn 35 and you start losing points, or forget about 35, even at the age of 32, because we all know express entry scores are raging high and whenever all program draw will open, and when express entry starts drawing out people for federal skilled worker as well, we all know that the scores are going to start with skyrocket scores of 480 plus. So even if you are at the age of 32, 33, 34, what do you do? I mean, you've already lost out on points. And the first thing that you can do is obviously get more points for your, where is it gone? Come on. Language. Okay. If you already have CLB 9, try and get CLB 10. Okay. It's not rocket science. I'm sure you already know it. Most of you are smart people out there who have already figured out most of the stuff, right? So get CLB 10 if you can, even in 1 or 2 or 3 factors, it will help because it adds between CLB 9 and CLB 10, it adds 3 points for each factor. So add those if you can get CLB 10 in all 4 factors. If you don't already have it, that would add 12 more points, which can be very, very valuable, okay? Second thing that you can do is, which you're going to talk about today, is adding French as a second language. A lot of people don't like that idea because obviously it's a difficult idea. But mind you, today's session is going to be about difficult choices. Not everything is easy. Definitely, Canadian immigration is not easy. No matter what these videos on YouTube tell you and paint it out to be as if it's going to be a walk in a park, it's not going to be a walk in the park, all right? If you need it bad enough, you will have to make it happen. It's not going to be served on a platter for you. So one of the cheapest, easiest, simplest options, if you want to ask me, would be taking up French as a second language. It has added benefits. Not only does it give you additional points in express entry, and it can give you some significant points, it will also give you, I mean, over here you see it gives you 6 points per factor, which is 24, but that's not all that you get. So 24 points here, and as you scroll down, and let me come to the very, very crucial factor. Yes, additional points. Okay, so 24 points you've got for the language, and here you see if you scored NCLC 7, that is for the French language score, or higher on all 4 French language skills factors and scored CLB 5 or higher on all 4 English language skills score factors, you will get 50 additional points. So what did that mean? Now that is almost 24 and 50. Wow, that's like almost 75 points, 74 points extra there. Won't you call that significant difference in your application if you were to achieve this? Yes, as I said, it's not going to be a walk in the park. Achieving this kind of score could take you a lot of effort. It could take you, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, probably. But that is still much better, still cheaper, still possible. And I personally know of people who have done it, who have cracked it, okay, just because they wanted it bad enough. So if you want it bad enough, if you really want to make it happen for yourself, French is something which I really and highly recommend. Well, because, not only does it give you points in your language, points in your application, in future, once you do come to Canada, keep in mind, French is one of the 2 official languages in Canada. It is highly sought after for people who are bilingual in the employment market. So finding a job is also going to be easier. It's going to be beneficial. You probably will get paid better as well. So French is something which you should consider. That is something that I wanted to talk to you about as far as express entry is concerned. Now, what is our second factor? Let's take a look at that one. So this was express entry is possible, but with a bit of a caveat there, which we spoke about just now. Next thing that I want to talk to you about is study and work route. Okay, now study and work route. Let me cut to the camera here first. Okay, study and work in Canada route is something. Remember, as I said in the beginning, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be walk in the park. Now, as you progress in your age, or as you become finer in your age, and as you become older with your age, things are going to continue to get difficult. Another option which makes a lot of sense, again, financial viability is a big question mark. Why? Because obviously, if I'm going to suggest that you come to Canada to study, you study in Canada 1-year program, 2 years program, and then obviously take a route towards your permanent residence, that obviously means money. This is money spent. Okay, approximate cost of tuition fees in Canada for an international student would range between $12,000 to $14,000 to up to $20,000 per year for tuition fees. Add to that the living expenses. Your 2-year program could very quickly run up to $50,000 of expense for you. That is a bit expensive. Now, where does it make a bit of a difference? Now, because if you get an approved study permit, your spouse, if you're married, is also eligible to apply for an open work permit. Okay, that's one benefit there. Your children, if you already have children, if they're school-going age, they can come to Canada and they're eligible to study for free in public school. So some cost saving there as well. Your spouse can start working in Canada. You can work 20 hours off campus. On campus, you can work full time, but 20 hours off campus, you can work. All these can help you meet that expenses that you're looking at. Again, it all depends on how badly do you want to make it happen. Now, where does it make a difference? Now, I will show you again, where does it make a difference? It makes a difference here. It makes a difference because if you are going to be studying in Canada, you get points for, where did I go here? All right. You get points for 1 year, 15 points. You get 15 points for 1 year. You get, if it's a credential, which is master's degree or 3 years program, you get 30 points. All right. Not only that, once you have got your study permit and once you have studied in Canada, let me just get this screen sorted out. Yeah. Okay. So once you have studied in Canada, 1 year program will get you a 1 year work permit, right? 2 year, having studied for 2 years in Canada, will get you a 3 year work permit. Now, what that will do is, now we have to scroll up. Yes. you will now also be eligible to get work experience points for Canadian work experience. Okay, 1 year work experience in Canada with a spouse, if you're married, will give you 35 points. If you're single, will give you 40. 2 years will give you 46. With the spouse, it's 53. Sorry, without a spouse, it's 53. These additional points, in addition to skills transferability. Now, also there is a skills transferability factors. I don't want to confuse you too much. The best thing to do would be to go to the CRS calculator on the CIC website, put in additional factors, put in that now you have Canadian work experience, now that you have Canadian education, what will be your points, all right? The GridPoint is a route or a roadmap for exactly how many points you get for different factors. You also get, say, for example, skills transferability factors, all right? If you have Canadian work experience, you have Canadian education, you get additional points over there as well. All these are very, very valuable points. So, for example, you are at a score of 400. You are at a CRS score of 400. What do? This is a good route, my friend. You can come to Canada, study. You already know people who are following on what has been happening in the Canadian environment right now. You already know that Canada is heavily giving benefit to people who have studied in Canada, who have worked in Canada. Not only that, you get these in Express Entry. You're still getting these additional very valuable points for your work experience. So with all this, what will happen is that you will be able to get this done. 35 points for Canadian work experience, 30 points for 2 years or a master's degree. 30 points for 2 years program, not master's degree. So your program has to be, if your program is 1 year program, you will get only 15 points. If it is 2 years or more, no, I'm sorry. Cut. If it is a master's degree or 3 years program, you will get 30 points for your education. So with that 30 points for your education, 35 points for work experience, collectively, these are very, very valuable points that you can add to your CRS score, again, making that route possible. Now, this is you studying in Canada, you working in Canada, and then coming here. Let's get to the next one. What if you don't want to study in Canada? What if you don't want to work in Canada? Or rather, what if you cannot get that done? Because we also know that getting an approval is equally difficult. As a student, can you really get an approval that easily? It doesn't happen, right? As much as immigration minister says that we don't only want you to come and live and work in Canada, we want you to make your Canada your home. There is a contradiction there when they're assessing your application for study permit, whereby the assessment factor entirely depends on the fact that will you return back to your home country or not. So there is a contradictory situation there. However, keeping the assessment criteria aside, obtaining a study permit is always going to be difficult, and because it is going to be difficult, you should still give it a shot if you can, if viability of your finances, I mean, if you're financially viable to take up this route. If not, then obviously we're going to talk about the next factor, which is provincial nominee programs. Now, provincial nominee programs is an obvious choice for everyone who cannot get through to Express Entry. Usually, and I have done thousands and thousands of consultations. People are always booking a consultation. And by the way, if you wish to book a consultation, that's the link, askkubeir.com/appointment. If you want to discuss one-on-one exactly about your profile and what your options could be. But that's not what we're talking. We're talking about this. In thousands and thousands of consultations that I've done, people always ask me, so should I take the PNP route? I mean, or can I opt for PNP? Yes, of course you can opt for PNP. I mean, yes, of course you can take PNP route. But is PNP opting for you? That is a bigger question. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're applying for PNPs or if you're opting for provincial nominee programs, what you need to understand is that there are basically two types of provincial nominee programs. And mind you, as of today, there are nearly 100 immigration programs that are available. So it becomes a bit of a choice to make as to who do you choose, which program do you choose, how do you get through. It's not easy, and Canadian government has not made it easy because there is no centralized platform where you can go and check, okay, am I eligible for this? Am I eligible for this or this or this or not? what you need to do is a bit of a hard work. You will need to go on individual provincial website, check their provincial nominee programs, see where you are eligible, where you are qualified. Do you qualify their criteria, their factors, and then apply based on what your eligibility or criteria. Yes, there are some third-party websites which have made some sort of a program or a software which you put your NOC code, you put your this details, and it sort of pops up some information for you. But I have not found that to be very reliable because it just gives you some factors. It doesn't really give you a complete overview. At times it misses out on some very important programs as well, where you could actually get through. But the hard work would be for you to go to every individual provincial website and then check whether you are eligible, whether you can qualify. Now, let me save you some hard work and give you some pointers here. All right. Most of the provinces you will not be eligible. Why? Because they need you to have a job offer from an employer in Canada in that province. Okay, so that is and as we know, that is one of the most difficult factors, and we will come to that point as well in a bit. But getting that job offer, we all know, is a bit of a difficult one. And because the criteria for that province is that you should have a job offer, you've already lost out on that. Now, going back to the previous point that we were talking about, studying in Canada and taking the PR route. Now, if you're studying in Canada, and that was this particular one, if you are studying in Canada and you're working in Canada, in whichever province, it is not only express entry which gives you a route through. It could also be the provincial nominee program. Provincial nominee programs, and now we come to this one. Provincial nominee programs, as I said, have different criterias, different requirements, different factors. One of them, and the basic premise for any provincial nominee program, is that you should be willing, or your intention should be, to reside in that province. If you're not going to be looking to reside in that province, well, then tough luck. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. So you're not going anywhere with that. So what do? You need to identify which provinces don't need a job offer first. So that takes away your Yukon. Remember Yukon? So much of big news which all YouTubers made about it yesterday, I think last year. Yukon, walk through. It's like a walk in the park. Anyways, Yukon needs a job offer. British Columbia, for most of its programs, it needs a job offer. For the one that it doesn't need, you need to have completed a eligible education in British Columbia. So forget British Columbia, forget Yukon, forget Northwest Territories. Let's come down on the map. Then you have Alberta. In Alberta, you have something which can work for you. So we will talk about Alberta in a bit. Next province is Saskatchewan. Again, Saskatchewan is something which is of interest to us for today's discussion. Next is Manitoba. For Manitoba, again, you need to have a connection to the province. Again, Manitoba doesn't work for us in most cases, because connection to the province means your past work experience, your job offer, you have a relative, you have a friend. I know a lot of people are looking for friend. Har friend zaruri hota hai, but this friend zaruri hone ke bawajood kuch help nahi karta. This friend will not really be of help to you, even if in Manitoba, because the points that you get for a friend in Manitoba are very little. I think about 50 points is what you get. By adding those 50 points, you don't really get a lot in the whole big picture, because again, it's a point-based program. Then you come to Ontario. Ontario is a favorite amongst most of you, because they have several different streams that you can work with, where you can apply without a job offer. Then you go next is Quebec. Quebec doesn't come under the provincial nominee programs, because Quebec has a separate immigration program by itself. So if at all you intend to reside in Quebec, you cannot apply for any other federal program or immigration program at all. Okay. If you live in Quebec, if you wish to live in Quebec, or you wish to reside in Quebec, then there are separate streams, separate programs. But by and large, French has to be your ace language. You probably should study, have work experience in Quebec for it to be easier for you to go through it. They have a separate portal called Ariba. But for today's discussion, we are not talking much about Quebec. Then you move forward, and then you have the beautiful 4 Atlantic provinces. the New Brunswick, the Prince Edward Islands, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland and Labrador. Nova Scotia was an apple of everybody's eye, some time back, because they had this Category B program where they invited people from all across the world when they opened. But that program is closed. As of today, Nova Scotia is of interest to us, and I'm going to talk about it in a bit. New Brunswick, not of interest to you because, okay, let's say for the sake of today's argument, we will also talk about New Brunswick in a bit. Then comes Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland and Labrador, you need a job offer, or just in case, if you are aware about their program, which opened in January, where they invited applications for 350 positions, and they were the only province, or they are the only province I know of, which gives you additional points as you grow older. I love that province because of this particular factor. They have identified that as you grow older, you may have more work experience. Your work experience could be more valuable. So they gave you additional points for growing older. Okay. But that program, but again, Newfoundland and Labrador is a small province, small quota, restricted quota. Majority of the quota goes to people who are living, working, and have a job offer from an employer in Newfoundland and Labrador. 350 slots. It opened and it closed like this because obviously it was the most sought after stream, but that is not something which is a permanent program as far as Newfoundland is concerned. But if you're not aware about this program, do head over to their website, check it out. It is no longer open. It was closed immediately after it opened because there was just so much of interest. Which one have I forgotten? Prince Edward Islands, also of interest to us for today's discussion, only to tell you that to avoid Prince Edward Islands. Now that I've gone through all the provinces, let's talk about the ones which I said are of interest to us. Let's start with the Atlantic provinces. Prince Edward Islands does not say that if you do not have job offer, if you do not have work experience in Prince Edward Islands, we will not allow you to make an expression of interest. What it basically means is they're saying, okay, go ahead and make your expression of interest on their portal. So before I go on with that, let me tell you there are by and large, two types of provincial nominee programs. One, which are linked to express entry, which basically means once the province nominates you, they will give you 600 points. 600 points will be added into your express entry profile, which basically means that it's a sure shot invitation for you in the next draw. But for that, you should be eligible. Okay, you should have enough eligible qualifying points, which is 67 in your express entry profile. The second type of provincial nominee programs are non-express entry linked, or you can call them their generic programs, or they have different names, or base program, or I don't know what you can call them, whatever. They don't have a specific name for it. But this basically means they are not linked to express entry. You don't really need an express entry profile. And because you don't need an express entry profile, these programs basically mean that you will have to apply using a paper application. Now that paper application has also become an online application, but it is not linked to express entry. So you won't get any points. Once you get the nomination, you apply separately to IRCC for your permanent residence. So these are the two different formats. Let's come back to what we were talking about. Prince Edward Islands, you can create an expression of interest. It is linked to express entry. However, what happens is Prince Edward Islands is the smallest province in Canada. Very small quota of nominations. And obviously, the premise, as I was telling you, is that for you to be wanting to live in Canada, work in Canada, reside in Canada, but not only in Canada, but in their respective province. What is the point if Prince Edward Island nominates you, but you go off to Ontario? It doesn't make sense for them. So the premise for any province is that you will be living in their province. Prince Edward Islands is a small province. Therefore, they give preference to people who are living, working, studying in their province. They don't say it. Their expression of interest system doesn't say it. So when you have agents or lawyers or consultants who tell you, we'll put your file, we will lodge your file. I don't even understand this term, lodge your file, but they use it anyways. We will lodge your file in Prince Edward Islands. It means squat. It means nothing. It's trash. It's rubbish. Okay, because there is hardly, I know of, in all these years that I've been doing immigration, there's only one person that I know of who managed to get invitation because Prince Edward Islands, they were invited. Okay, so if you're pinning your hopes only on that, it's going to be a bit of a downer. So that's Prince Edward Islands. Nova Scotia used to have a wider range of NOC codes that they would invite, not so much anymore. Now they have something called labor market priorities, also linked to express entry, which basically means if you have an express entry profile, they will invite you. If your NOC code is what they were looking for, there is nothing published in what they will be looking for, what they will be searching, when they will be searching. So you don't really know when that will happen. If you one fine day, if you wake up and you have an invitation in your mail, in your box saying we are interested, consider yourself very, very lucky. Okay, that's labor market priorities stream from Nova Scotia. So yes, of interest. We come to New Brunswick. New Brunswick, and today is the 13th of June, so it is still valid. New Brunswick often conducts recruitment events and information session events. If you are to attend these events, and there is one which is ongoing right now, it is until the 15th of June. That is where they are inviting data scientists and data engineers. Just a bit of more of a fancy word for data analysts and database administrators. I think it is NOC code 2172. So if that is of interest to you, rush over to New Brunswick website and check their new recruitment event. Register for it. Now, what happens with New Brunswick is that if you register for their recruitment event or for their information session event, they may, if they find your profile of interest, they may send you a notification of interest. If they send you a notification of interest, then basically, it's pretty cool, because then you can submit your application for nomination. You will get the nomination if everything is fine, and then you get your 600 points and off you go. That is New Brunswick. Apart from that, you need to have a job offer kind of a thing. Nothing much if you do not get invited by them. Then come to Ontario. We all know about Ontario. Human Capital Priority Stream, which is a generic draw, and tech draw, two more favored programs. Again, NOC codes are restricted. So if your NOC code is in one of these listed in demand, but the problem with Ontario, which is, though everybody loves it, is that their cutoff, their CRS range amongst which they pick these profiles is again very restrictive, because they're high CRS score. So if you are 44, 41, 42, the chances are that even if your NOC code is listed in demand in Ontario, you have no chance, my friend. Why? Because the CRS cutoff range for Ontario is extremely high. I don't see you getting picked up any which ways if you are 40 years old, 38 years old, 37 years old, because your CRS score is going to be very low. So while Ontario is still a great prospect for people in their early 30s who are no longer in the 480 CRS range or 470 plus CRS range, as you cross 35, this becomes a bit of a downer again for Ontario, though as much as you would want to get into that one. What would be the next option? Now we come to Saskatchewan. Now, Saskatchewan has two streams which are very, very popular. OID, which is occupation in demand, and the second one is express entry. Sometimes I don't understand how they pick up their names because it's so confusing. For both the streams, your occupation has to be in demand. Okay, so I don't understand occupation in demand and express entry stream. But anyways, what for sake of clarity, occupation or OID basically means you don't really need to be eligible in express entry. You don't need to have an express entry profile. For express entry means you have to have an express entry profile. It's as simple as that. They occasionally conduct draws, and once they do conduct a draw and your NOC code and your score is picked up. Now, your score basically means they have an expression of interest based system. They don't pick from express entry profile. So you will have to create your expression of interest on their portal. Once you create your expression of interest, you will get points. Maximum anybody can get without having any Canadian connection or French language score is 70 points. 70 points is basically 34 years of age, master's degree, CLB 8, and 10 years of work experience in one occupation code. That is the profile, best profile for Saskatchewan that anybody can have without having any Saskatchewan connection or without having any French or sibling kind of a connection. Have they picked 70? Plenty of times. Will the scores go below 70? Now, what happens with age? The minute you hit 35 and from 35 to 44, you will lose 2 points for age factor, which basically means if you are 35 years old or if you are 44 years old, your score is going to remain 68 with a profile of master's degree, 10 years of work experience in the same NOC code, and CLB 8. So the minute you cross 35 until 44, your scores are going to remain same. Will 68 have a good chance? Yes, it has a good chance because it has been hit a few times before. But for 68 to happen, or scores below 68 to happen, several other things have to happen. One of which is that they have to pick only specific NOC codes in order to invite them. So the less number of NOC codes means less number of people, means they can go lower with the points that they. I know it can get very confusing if you're listening to all this for the first time. I recommend you check my other video that I have on Saskatchewan Nominee Program. That will give you a bit more detailed information. But you can always head over to Saskatchewan website as well, get a bit more understanding of how it works. But if you are 35 years and over, Saskatchewan remains a good option, a valid option, provided you also have a master's degree, provided you have CLB 8 and above in English language scores or French language scores. And if you have 10 years of work experience within the last 10 years in the same occupation code. Extremely, extremely important. Now, where does it make a difference? Now, if you again add French as your second language, Saskatchewan can give you up to 10 additional points. Now, remember my first point when I was talking to you about French, this is the additional benefit. If you can add French as your second language, Saskatchewan can add up to 10 points in your profile. Great. That sort of, puts you on a direct route to getting your invitation and then applying for it. Wow. I didn't know there was so much to cover. Now, the next after Saskatchewan is Alberta. Alberta is like a Bermuda Triangle. Okay. Bermuda Triangle, as in you know where it is, but you do not know what's going to happen to you once you get there, kind of a thing. There is no published list of NOC codes that Alberta will invite. Okay, they have a list of NOC codes that they will not invite or they will not prefer. That is available. You can go to their website and you can check. But they very frequently conduct draws, and then they say, okay, we have invited 300 people with score of 350 or 302 or 303. And you start wondering, if they did invite people with a score of more than 300, and my score is 350, my score is 400, my score is 380, 390, 370. Why didn't I get invited? Okay, because they never announce, they never publish, they never tell you who did they invite and why did they invite. The criteria has never been announced. Okay, so they will basically, again, it's an express entry linked system. They will pick profiles from the express entry. They will not give you the criteria under which they invited these profiles. They are usually linked to your primary NOC code. If your primary NOC code is something that they have identified that they wish to get, then they will probably invite you. As of right now, Alberta has, in 2020, they announced that they will not invite people from outside Alberta because they want to give the preference to people who are in Alberta because of the COVID pandemic, which had stuck, and they wanted to sort of protect the job market in a manner, and the people who are already inside Alberta. If that has changed, as of right now, that is not an indication of such thing happening. But I'm sure at some point of time, Alberta will resume and start inviting people who are outside Canada, as outside Alberta and outside Canada as well. Can you pin your hopes on Alberta? It's a tentative one. Just like Nova Scotia, it's a tentative one. It's like luck by chance. You just might wake up one morning and know that you have been invited. However, there are certain NOC codes which are known to have been favored by Alberta. 1241, 1242, 2151, 2132, 2133, 6221, 0621, 2173, and 74. These are some of the NOC codes that I remember on top of my head that have been earlier picked by Alberta. But again, there is no way of distinguishing which profiles they picked and when will they pick yours if you are there in the pool. Well, this is what I wanted to talk to you about provincial nominee programs. As I said, it's a bit of a hard work, but you will need to go on individual provincial websites, check the websites, go through the programs, see where you are eligible, see where you qualify, and then make that choice. A difficult one, but it's a program call anyways. The next one that I want to talk to you about is the self-employed program. Now, this is something which is largely overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of you out there are probably not employed. You are self-employed, means you are running a business, you have your own freelance operation, you have your own company, you have your own setup, you have been working, you have been doing, and you basically, could very well be eligible. Age is not the criteria. I mean, age is a criteria, but it is not really a very big criteria. What am I talking about? Let me pick this for you, and then, all right, let's get this. All right, coming here. Self-employed person who can apply, and we will go through it very, very quickly, and I will show you what I'm talking about. Don't worry about the link. The link is going to be in the description. After we finish the video, I'm going to post it over there, so you can always take a look. For self-employed person, in order to immigrate, and in order to apply for Canadian immigration, you should have a relevant experience. And I'm going to talk to you about relevant experience in a bit. You should be willing and be able to be self-employed in Canada. So the idea is that you currently have self-employed work experience, and that you wish to work as a self-employed in Canada, preferably within the same background. Mind you, once you become a permanent resident of Canada, you are protected by the Constitution of Canada under the rights of Charter of Rights and Freedom, and you can choose to do whatever you wish to do, in sense like you can work wherever you want to work. So the NOC codes that you choose in your application or the program that you apply under does not hold you. It is not a restriction or conditional that you must do the same thing. Preferred, yes, but not really the condition. Obviously, you meet the program's selection criteria and meet medical, security, and other conditions, which is all, which everybody has to meet. Now, what is the relevant experience? Your experience is relevant if you have taken part in cultural activities or athletics at a world-class level, or you have been self-employed person in cultural activities or athletics. So basically, if you have taken, if you were Olympian, or if you took part in Asian Games, or if you came up to a world-class level taking part in athletic activities or cultural activities, well, you will be eligible. The problem is that this is very vague, as in what would be identified. However, my focus is going to be on the next criteria, which is you have been self-employed person in cultural activities or athletics. The relevant experience here means that you should have at least 2 years of experience within the last 5 years. Okay. So at the time they will make an so basically it should be a continuous work experience, means you have 2 years experience within the last 5 years and you are continuing to work in the same occupation. Because it should be 5 years from the day you apply and ending on the day we make a decision on your application. Mind you, this application is a paper application. It is not connected to Express Entry, and sometimes it can take a few years to get an answer on this one. I would say anywhere between 2 years plus is what the process time is. However, they will give you points. 3, 4, 5 years of experience, you will get points for age, education, language adaptability in your selection criteria. However, the criteria is very low. It will not really make a big difference for you if your age is not on your side, because the criteria is not for selection. The criteria is for eligibility. Let's take a look at the selection criteria. Okay. Now, in selection criteria, you have to score a minimum of 35 points. That's it. Okay. Only 35 points. Maximum score is 100. How do you get 35 points? In education itself, you get 25 points. In experience, you get 35 points. Age, you get only 10 points, my friend, only 10 points, okay? In English, you get 24 points. English or French. Adaptability, let's not even talk about it. If you have a master's degree, you can get off the bat 25 points. And say so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into too much of details because we have other areas to cover as well. But as you can see, scoring a minimum of 35 points is not going to be difficult. Okay, if you have 2 years of experience, which is a requirement, you will get 20 points. So off the bat, if you have a degree, if you have a work experience of 2 years, which you need to have, even if your age, let's say, is 21 to 49, okay, there you go. Age is not a criteria. Even right up to the age of 49, you get 10 points. Even at the age of 50, they're giving you points. So the reason why they're still giving you points right up to the age of 53 is because they understand that this could be A suitable program even for people who are over the age of 50, as long as they are self-employed in this particular or in the relevant work experience. What else have we got with this? Now, your work experience should be in any of these. Now, when I'm talking about any of these, what we are referring to basically are these NOC codes. NOC codes starting with digit 5, occupations in art, culture, recreation, and sport, and under section 5, or not section 5, but under class 5 of NOC codes, you will have professional occupations in art and culture, and technical occupations in art, culture, recreation, and sport. In this, you can see the kind of jobs that will become eligible. Librarians, archivists, conservators, curators, writing, translation, and related occupations, creative and performing arts, technical occupations in libraries, archives, museums, art galleries, photographers, graphic art technicians, technicians in motion picture, broadcasting and performing arts, announcers and other performers, creative designers, craftsmen, athletes, coaches, referees. Oh, that is a lot of occupations. If you are self-employed, my friend, this is an amazing program to get into. Self-employed program, as you saw, there is not much of a requirement. Language requirement is only CLB 5. Age, as I told you, is not a criteria. I mean, even up to 53 years of age, you can still crack it. Education, bachelor's, master's, 2 degrees, diploma, depending on what works for you. What matters is the work experience. So again, it has been, this is one program which a lot of people don't pay attention to, don't talk about, but something which you can definitely refer to. Next one that I'm going to talk about is the startup visa program. Now, startup visa program confuses a lot of people. Mind you, it's not an easy program to get into, but it's an eligible option. Canada no longer has a federal level investor program. They no longer have a federal level business immigration program. It used to be, I think in 2014 sometime, they scrapped all those programs. Now it is either self-employed program or startup visa program, which is at the federal level. For startup visa program, what do we have here? Okay, yeah. For startup visa program, I'm going to take you here. Again, the link is in the description, so don't have to worry about it. You have to have a qualifying business. You must eventually have a qualifying business. And what it basically means, in short, the description is the link is in the description. You can always refer to it. What it means is that in order to be eligible under the startup visa program, you have to have a good business idea. You need to pitch that business idea to an incubator or an angel investor designated organization, right? They have to be designated with IRCC. You have to pitch this idea to them. If they support or if they accept your business idea, and if they're willing to support, then they will give you the letter of support. The incubator has to support you with an investment of $75,000. The angel investor has to support you with $200,000. If they are able to do that, or if you're able to secure this kind of support, then you will be eligible to apply under the startup visa program. In the startup visa program, you're not only able to apply for your permanent resident, but while you're waiting for your permanent residence, you can also apply for your work permit, so you can start coming and working in Canada. So yeah, the process to pitch your idea is different for each organization. Each organization that you will pitch will have a different requirement. They will ask you to either make a presentation to them, or you give them a detailed business plan. Again, it doesn't have too much of requirements. You can apply. Now, the good thing with the startup visa is that more than one applicant can apply in this program. Now, what does that mean? It basically means that, for example, you are 3 partners. Okay, you 3 partners have a business. You have a startup in a city of Bangalore, and you know it is a good startup. You already have a bit of a track record. Now you pitch this idea to an agency or to an organization in Canada, which is designated learning. This is an incubator which extends the support to you. You have everything in order. All 3 of you, all 3 partners, along with your families, can apply under the same startup visa program, under the same application. You can all apply together. Okay. That is the benefit that this program gives you. It is not you need to have separate this thing. Yes, you will still need to have funds for your settlement, which is quite obvious that depending on your family members, you will need to have proof of funds, and that's just about it. Your CLB level is only CLB 5 is what you need. There is no GridPoint that you will need to go through, and you can up to 5 people can apply as owners, which is awesome, right? I mean, can you imagine that? So I was just giving you an example of 3 partners. Even if you're 5 partners, 5 of you along with your families, you can all apply under this particular program. So this was the startup visa program. I've talked to you about the self-employed program. What I also have for you is now this one, regional pilot programs. Now, what do regional pilot programs mean? Now, a lot of people talk a lot about these regional pilot programs, which is the AIPP and RNIP. Very difficult one, but I wanted to talk to you about this anyways, because it is a valid pathway. And the reason for that is that, or the reason why it's not very attractive as far as I'm concerned, is because it needs a job offer. That is the first and the foremost requirement for this particular program. There are so many advertisements you see. There are so many Instagram posts or Instagram ads or YouTube ads or your Facebook ads where everybody is making it sound as if it's like, God sent, heaven's gift to you that you can immigrate to Canada with an RNIP program or an AIPP program. No, it's difficult. It's very difficult. Why? Because getting a job offer is extremely difficult, number one. Number two, getting the endorsement is again difficult. I mean, once you get the job offer, yeah, getting the endorsement is not going to be a problem, but getting the job offer by itself is very, very difficult. What can you do? How do you get a job offer? Mind you, job offer is also helpful in Express Entry. It can give you between 50 points to 200 points, depending on the category of job you get. So if your NOC level is 0, A or B, you get 50 points. If your NOC level is 00, which is very senior level position, director, board of directors, CEO, vice president, managing director, general manager, you can get up to 200 points. Not up to, you can get 200 points in your Express Entry. But for AIPP and RNIP, this is also applicable for NOC C and NOC D. Now that becomes very, very important because there are so many occupations out there which are not eligible in Express Entry. But how do you get a job offer, which is so difficult? It's not impossible, okay? But again, it all boils down to how badly do you want it? How much of an effort are you willing to put into getting a job offer? Are you going to work hard? Are you going to... So one of the best ways of doing it is going to the job bank. Now, the job bank will give you a lot of information of which job is available in which company, which area, which territory, which province, which city. That gives you a bit of a background. It also gives you a background about what kind of salaries are ongoing, what kind of pay structures are ongoing, which employment has, or which occupation has scope in which province, in which city. Lots of information in job bank. Now, once you've identified that, go to LinkedIn, identify which company that was, identify some people in LinkedIn who could be in some designated positions of that company, HR manager, head of sales, head of HR, some decision maker in that position. You need to start your networking right, okay? Don't go looking and posting your resume, every single company that you might see, or with every single person who might belong to that company. It won't work because most of the people are doing it. You need to start networking the right way. What do you have to offer that would be of interest to that person? Think of giving more than you will get. So apply for jobs, LinkedIn, Monster, Indeed, Job Bank. Make it your mantra, make it your to-do. Every morning I will wake up and I will apply to 50 jobs. Every night before sleeping, I will apply to 50 jobs, and I will do it every single day. You use this, okay? And I know of people who have used this relentlessly, and they've persevered, and they've eventually gotten lucky. So luck is not what the factor that plays over here, okay? When I say they got lucky is making it sound, making fun of their effort, because it was not the luck that got them there, it was their hard work. So how much hard work are you willing to put in? Are you willing to put in those hours, that effort that goes in there? It is something that you have to decide. But it is a possibility, it can be done. I know of a lot of people who have done it. So regional pilot programs, again, age is not the criteria. What is the English or French language or the level of your language is also not the criteria, because you can go right up to CLB4, CLB5. Education is also not a criteria. You can even be a high school diploma and you will still be fine. The only factor would be your job offer that you will get from the employer in Canada. If you can score that, then you will be able to get through with this program. And last that I wish to talk to you about is the Home Child Care and Home Support Worker Pilot. Let me see if I can open it. Yes, I can open it here. Again, the link is in the description box. This has worked for a lot of people. They do have a quota each year for this particular program. They will receive certain number of applications. The pilot is close to new applications for 2021 already for home child care provider. Okay, but for home support worker pilot, they are nowhere close to the cap, so they will still continue to accept. Usually, most of the people would like to apply for these programs in the month of January when the quota is fresh and opened up. And again, you need a job offer for this particular program as well. However, this is eligible for only two NOC codes, which is 4411 and 4412. 4411 is for home child care provider, also child care provider if you want to call it. This is a caregiver program which used to be referred to earlier. 4412 is for home support worker, for people who take care of the elderly or people who are challenged in some or the other manner. So the kind of support you provide to these people is what would be under NOC code 4412. Mind you, and this is where a lot of people have been able to use this program, is that even you could apply for these jobs even with your relatives in Canada. So for example, if you have a relative who has children, okay, you can apply for a job with your relatives and you are eligible to apply under this program. If you do not have background or work experience, then I would suggest that you get some. Do a short-term course on childcare or on home support. Do a course, do some background if you don't already have it. But again, there is no age criteria here. There is a English, there is a language criteria which is only of CLB5, and education of post-secondary credential of 1 year in Canada. If you don't have education in Canada, then you can have an equivalency of post-secondary 1 year, and that is also absolutely fine. Okay. Yeah, so this is basically this program. I mean, it's not difficult to meet the criteria if you want to. And with this criteria, with the home child care and home support worker, you are eligible to apply. What happens is that you will, if you do not have work experience in Canada under this program, you will submit your work permit application and your PR application together. First, you will get your work permit approval based on the job offer you have got, based on your credentials, based on your background. Once you've got an approved job, once you've got an approved work permit, you will come to Canada. You will work for 2 years at least. You should have 2 years work experience in Canada. Once you have completed a period of 2 years of work experience, then your PR application will be processed. While you're working in Canada, your work permit will not be employer specific, means it will not be closed work permit to the employer. It will be closed work permit to the occupation. Means if you get work permit under 4412, the work permit will be closed for 4412, means you could change employers. There is no problem. You could work from one employer to another employer to the third employer as long as the job is the same. So that is the bit of a benefit that they give you. Your family is also eligible to apply and come with you under this program. And this continues to be a very eligible program. As a bonus for staying around with me for 1 hour today, I mean, it's already been 1 hour. Wow. I mean, I didn't realize it's going to be such a long one today. I want to talk to you about one program which very few people talk about. It's a PNP program, and it is this one. It's the Morden Immigration Program, and not the Morden, or the people confuse it when they're talking about this one as well. Morden is a small community which is in Manitoba. And they usually have a very small quota of applications, but as you can see, that age is not really a big problem here. Okay, 21 to 45 is what they accept. There is no problem. They're looking only for 2 years of work experience. Okay, and the language skills score is only of CLB5. So you see, there is not much of a criteria that they're looking for. But what they're looking for obviously is specific occupations. Okay, they are not looking for everybody and anybody, because obviously they're a small province, so they want to invite only those applicants, those candidates who will be able to find gainful employment based on their market conditions. So if you're a mechanic, welder, cook, industrial painter, woodworking machine operator, assembler, then I would suggest that this is a great opportunity for you to apply with Morden. What Morden does is, once you have submitted your application to them, they will consider your application. They will also have a Skype interview with you. During the interview, what they want to establish is that, are you really intending and willing to live in that community? And once they are satisfied, they are happy, you will get your nomination through the Manitoba program. And once you've got the nomination through the Manitoba program, you will then be able to apply for your permanent residence. You see, no express entry profile is needed. You should have settlement funds as per the Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. And that's just about it. Again, the link would be in the description box for you to sort of, learn more about it, and then, take it from there. Well, excuse me. That's all that I have for you for today. I mean, these are the most eligible pathways. As I said in the beginning, it's not going to be easy. It is not easy, but it is a possibility. I know of several people who, beyond anybody else telling them, they have been able to immigrate to Canada, or they are in the process of immigrating to Canada, even at the age of 38, 40, 42, 44, 45, even at the age of 48 and 49. So it's not completely shut doors. It is absolutely possible. What makes it possible is you yourself. How interested are you? How willing are you? And do you really want to make this happen? That's me tuning out. Thank you for tuning in. If you wish to talk to me one-on-one, then obviously, this is the link. Please book an appointment. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as normal. You can follow us on Instagram if you want to. And if you have any queries about our services that we offer, drop us an email here. Take care.